Hey there everybody, Professor Cloud here with another how-to video. This one focused on the game Dead by Daylight. I've got more than 200 hours in the game, which in the world of Dead by Daylight is actually a very, very minuscule amount, especially in comparison to those who are known to just be Dead by Daylight content creators, such as Starva, for example, who has stated many times he's got more than 10,000 hours. And the professionals who are in tournaments, they've got even more probably. However, there are certain things that you can learn about Dead by Daylight fairly early. And one of the things that I think I'm finally starting to grasp and really get a hold of is how to both enjoy and be successful at solo queue Survivor. Meaning, you're not going in with a prepared team. You're not going to be on voice comms. You're not going to be coordinated. You're going in primarily for yourself. But maybe you've got a tome challenge that you want to try and complete. Or maybe you're lucky enough that when you solo queue in, you actually get some people who want to work together. But even without the comms, you can still work together. So I think I've learned now some decent builds, some decent tactics and strategies to use to enjoy yourself in Dead by Daylight as a solo queue survivor. So what I want to do in this video is talk about some of those builds, how I put a build together. And by the way, this is just my opinion. What Otts, for example, may recommend, what Spooky Loops may recommend, what Toki may recommend could be entirely different. And everybody plays a little bit differently. But this is the way that I've gone about it from an analytical perspective and how I like to put my build together. And I've felt pretty good, but after only 200 hours, it's not like I'm going up against Spooky Loops and Starva on a regular basis to really get obliterated every time I play the game. I'm having a good time. I'm escaping every once in a while. I'm enjoying playing the characters that I'm playing, and I'm enjoying playing the builds that I'm playing. So let's jump in and take a look at some of what I'm talking about. Okay, let's start by talking about some of the Survivor basics. I am going into this video with the assumption that you've at least been through the tutorial and that you've at least played 5 matches or so of Survivor. You've wetted your whistle, you're enjoying the concept, you're enjoying going up against some killers, probably not all. Everybody has their favorites to go up against, everyone has the ones that they dread. Same thing is true for the different maps. But there are some basics to understand about Survivor versus Killer. One of the things that makes Survivor so accessible for people to gravitate to when it comes to Dead by Daylight, get started very, very rapidly, is that every Survivor plays the same. Every Survivor has the same abilities, meaning they have the ability to get the same perks once you prestige. We'll talk about that in a minute. Everyone has the same ability to use the same items. The toolboxes, the med kits, the flashlights, and so on. Same add-ons, same offerings. It makes it much, much easier to grab a hold of a survivor, jump into a match, and do something. And be successful at doing something. Whether it's repairing a generator, whether it's healing another survivor, unhooking a survivor, potentially even escaping. But in order to actually put together successful builds that are going to make you more successful or make you have more fun, that's where things get to be a little bit more complicated, but have some of the same concepts that they do with Killer. What I mean by that is there is no survivor in DBD, no killer in DBD either, by the way, that have enough perks of their own to be a successful survivor or killer by themselves. They will almost always need a perk from another survivor, a perk from another killer, or more in order to be successful. Now, the survivor that you're looking at here is Nicolas Cage. This is my preferred survivor, mostly because of his one-liners, not necessarily because of his perks. But he does have one perk that I use very much, which is Plot Twist. And this is one that would help in a healing build. It would help in a stealth build. It would help in a pure solo build. But you need to understand what perks are out there, what survivors they come from, and then how can you put them together to potentially work off of each other, or maybe work with your items and add-ons in order to make that build a very successful build. Now, the way I like to put my builds together is we have 4 perks to assign. The first 2 perks are usually what I use for the specific build, whether it's a healing build, a repair build, an unhook build, stealth build, chase build. You'll get the idea. I'm going to talk about some of the most common ones that are used out there, as well as the perks that are associated with them. And I've got specific survivors set up to show you that. Then my third perk is usually what's called an aura perk. Being able to see other things on the map other than what's right directly in front of you. So this particular perk that you're seeing is Windows of Opportunity. It is typically used in chase builds to be able to see pallets and windows from distance, so that if you are being chased by a killer, you'll actually know where to go to make it harder for the killer to catch you, and therefore potentially extend the chase long enough to where they will actually pull off. And I have absolutely done that. I'm not the best at chase, but it is something that I have accomplished. And then my last perk is typically something that I will use for what's called endgame, meaning after the exit gates have been powered, all of the gens have been repaired, we now want to have that little extra oomph to make sure that we're getting out of the exit. Whether we want to use something like hope in order to provide better speed, or we want to use something like adrenaline to immediately get a heal state back so that we can accept a hit from the killer on our way to the exit gate and still make it out. Things along those lines. Things that are going to help us once the exit gates have come to fruition. There's another one that's out there that doesn't get used very much. I think it's called Left Behind. It's one of Bill's perks that will allow him to see the hatch from distance, meaning that he doesn't even have to worry about the exit gates. He can just head straight for the hatch and get out. Okay, the last thing that I want us to talk about before we dive into some specific builds and some demonstrations of them is prestiging. So as we've been looking here at my Nicolas Cage build, I already talked about that I've got perks from multiple individuals. Prove Thyself is from Dwight Fairfield. Plot Twist is Nick's, but Windows of Opportunity is Kate's, and Guardian is one that just is available to everybody. What Dead by Daylight has done is made it possible so that as you level up your characters, your survivors in this case, you make it possible for those perks to be taught or learned by you're teaching the other survivors how to use the perks, how to obtain the perks, and they're learning these perks from the Blood Web. When you first turn on Dead by Daylight, the only perks that are available in the Blood Web are the very rare perks, the ones that are generally available to everybody. But you have the ability to teach others. Now, how is that possible? There's actually 2 different ways. One way is prestige. You're going to level up your survivor, and the Blood Web has 50 levels to it. After you hit and complete level 50, you have the ability to prestige. Up here at the top is the character prestige level. I am currently at prestige level 2 for Nicolas Cage, which means I've gone through the Blood Web twice. If you just want to go one time, that's perfectly fine. 2, 3, that's how you're going to get your level 3s. However, going through the Blood Web is going to get you your individual level 3s. If you want to teach level 3s or level 2s, level 1s to others, that's where the prestige level comes in. The first prestige level, once you get it, you'll be able to teach level 1 of your 3 perks to everyone, meaning those perks will automatically be available to them, and then from that point on, they will be able to find the level 2s and 3s in their Blood Web. However, if you want to make sure that everyone has all of your perks at level 3, then you need to prestige your character to level 3. So I will give you a quick example. I have Jake here, and I have him prestige to level 3, almost level 4. Which means that if I go to any survivor in my list, in my roster, I should see his level 3 perks available to me. So let's go to somebody that I have never touched. Ace. I have never played as Ace. I'm still at level 1, as you can see here, on my Blood Web with him. But if I go to my loadout, there's level 3 of Calm Spirit, which is Jake's. There's Saboteur, which is level 3 of Jake's. And Iron Will, which is Jake's. Those are automatically available because I prestige Jake to level 3. Now, I'm telling you this because I have been playing with a lot of different builds, with a lot of different perks, and you're going to see that all throughout the rest of this video. What that means is I have prestiged characters in order to get access to their level 1 perks so that I can then get them in my Blood Web to upgrade them on the characters that I want to use them. Let me give you an example. I am going to pull a character, David King. I think he's the best option. No, Zarina is the best option. I've actually never played as Zarina. I have never run her in a match. But I prestiged her to level 1 because I wanted access to Off the Record. So now every one of my survivors have level 1 Off the Record by default, and that now shows up in their Blood Web so that they can get level 2s and 3s. This is a very quick way, maybe quick isn't the right phrase, but the right term, but this is a way that you can get the perks that you want to use, that you need to use for your different types of builds, especially the ones that I'm going to talk about throughout the rest of the video, without necessarily having to play the survivors that have those perks. So if you're a Dwight main, you only want to play with Dwight, fine, have at it. But once you get Dwight to prestige level 1 so that you can get his leader, bond, and prove thyself, from that point on, use any future blood points from running Dwight to prestige the other characters so that you can get access to their perks. Now, there is one other way to teach perks to other survivors, or killers as well, by the way. And that's to get the level 3 version of that perk. So let's say Zarina here. I was playing with Zarina, and the Blood Web gods were shining down on me and said, we're going to give you 3 straight levels of Off the Record. So I all of a sudden get Off the Record level 1, Off the Record level 2, Off the Record level 3. The minute it gets level 3, that perk is now available for everyone else to learn. But they have to learn it from the very beginning. They don't automatically get level 1 in their loadout screen. They have to get it in the Blood Web. So, 2 different ways. One that's going to make it easier for you to use them immediately in your loadouts, and one that might take a little bit more time. So I did want to make sure to cover that because we're going to be looking at builds that have a lot of different character perks, and I want you to make sure that you know how best to go about getting those perks should you want to run any of these builds or just use the perks from them. Okay, let's take a look at what I would probably consider to be the most common build, especially for new survivors, and that's the repair build. The repair build is obviously one of the more important ones simply because you can't escape the game if you don't repair the generators. So the faster that you can repair generators, the more that things can get done quicker across the 4 survivors, the better chance you have of escaping the match. One of the most important survivors in that discussion is obviously Dwight. And it might not be obvious to you, but for those of us who have played for a while, he comes with one of the most important perks when it comes to repair speed, and that is Prove Thyself. So for every other survivor working on a generator within a 4-meter range, getting a 10% repair speed bonus, and this does stack. So if you are working together on a single gen, now obviously this doesn't happen as often in solo queue, but it does still happen where you'll either see or hear that another person is working on a gen, and there's numerous ways to see that happening. You can join with them, 10% repair speed bonus. Second person runs up in the middle of the repair, they start repairing the gen as well, 20% speed bonus. And of course, it can go up to 30. So this is one of the most important perks, and this is one of Dwight's natural perks. So making sure to prestige Dwight is extremely important, because once you've made Prove Thyself available for him, you can then make it available for everyone else. Now, once we move away from Prove Thyself, then it's going to be about, well, how can you potentially increase the speed bonus on gens? Another way is Resilience. This is also a very, very common perk, and this is just one that's available for everybody in everybody's blood web from minute 1. So it is certainly something that I recommend that every survivor get a hold of. You are motivated in dire situations. It grants, in this case, because I'm running level 2, a 6% additional speed when repairing, sabotaging, healing, unhooking, vaulting, cleansing, or blessing a totem, opening exit gates, and unlocking, all while injured. So you will actually see the better survivors, those that have thousands of hours, who will come in and actually intentionally get attacked so that they can stay injured for the entire match and use Resilience to its utmost capabilities, because it increases the speed of everything. It goes 3, 6, 9. So right now I'm running level 2 at 6%. The level 3 would be 9. So those are the two perks that I would most recommend when it comes to a repair build as part of the build portion of the perk set, as we talked about earlier. Now, when it comes to aura, Deja Vu is going to be your biggest friend. So this is the aura of 3 generators which are in close proximity to one another are revealed to you. And this changes throughout the match. So when you first come into the match, the 3 closest generators to each other are shown to you, and then as generators are repaired, those will change depending upon which ones continue to be closest to each other. And in this particular case, you gain a 6% repair speed bonus on those revealed generators. So, in this scenario, we've got, let's just say, 2 of us working on a gen gets a 10% repair bonus. I also happen to be injured. I'm now at 16. It's one of the ones that were shown to me. I've now got a 22% repair speed bonus that can be stacked on with additional co-op. So this is a phenomenal repair build. And then lastly, for endgame perk is Hope, in order to give you that speed boost to get yourself out the exit door, because you're already going to get a speed boost on opening the exit gate via Resilience if you are in fact injured. Now, I don't want to just sit here and go, well, hey, this is the best repairs build that you can possibly go with. Don't bother trying to do anything else, because that's not going to be true. You may want to use a different aura perk for a particular reason, such as Bond. And in that instance, you might want to swap out certain things. Or you might go, you know what, Brian, I just don't want to be injured the entire match. And trust me, I get you there. I don't like to be injured the majority of the time either. So I don't want to run Resilience. But Deja Vu is still a great aura perk. So what other potential things could you use in a repair scenario? Unfortunately, I don't have any that are level 3, but if you are still very new to repairing gens, then and I gotta find it, I apologize. The Technician perk will hide any missed skill checks. It will actually, the generator explosion will be prevented. The generator loses progress as usual, and an additional 5% progress is lost. But it makes sure that the killer does not sense that there's anybody working on that particular gen. So if you're still very new to skill checks and things like that, that might be something worthwhile to you. Another one, and this one comes from, oh, by the way, Technician comes from Feng Min. And then Streetwise, which comes from Nea Carlson. This one actually reduces the consumption rate of toolboxes. So you're going in with a repair build. You can see I'm running a toolbox. It can reduce the rate of which that toolbox is being consumed when working on a gen. And it can also do that with anybody else that's working on a gen that also has a toolbox. So we can all actually use our toolboxes for longer periods of time. It runs at 15% in an 8-meter range, and once out of this range, the effect persists for 15 seconds. So this is something else that can potentially be used in a repair scenario. We also have Troubleshooter from an aura perspective. You see the aura of the generator with the most progress, and you see the aura of the killer for 4 seconds after dropping a pallet, and this is when you're being chased. So this is another aura perk, but it is, as you can see, very, very situational. Rookie Spirit, completing 5 good or great skill checks while repairing generators, activates this perk for the remainder of the trial, so the remainder of the match. Once active, you can see the aura of regressing generators, so another aura perk that you can use in this scenario. This one takes a little bit more to set up, but it certainly gives you a lot more information throughout the entire match than just, say, 3 generators that you're going to see in Deja Vu. When it comes to the item, the toolbox item, and the add-ons, anything to add additional charges to the toolbox and anything to increase the toolbox's repair speed are going to be what you want for your add-ons. So there are yellow versions of the add charges. I don't know that I have one. I do not. And then there are going to be greens for increasing the toolbox repair speed and so on. And then eventually there's also purples and iridescence. But typically, I will just go in with browns because you get so many of them, you might as well just go ahead and use them. So let's go ahead and take a look at what a match would look like running the repair build. Okay, one thing I want to call out here from a solo queue survivor perspective is that running a repair build is going to very much be dependent on, or how successful you are at running that build is going to be very much dependent on the other survivors in the match. And that's the one problem with solo queuing. One of the things that I am noticing a lot today is that a lot of survivors are coming in just to chase. That's the only thing that they care about. They don't care about anything else. So when you come in a repair build in that scenario, and I'm pretty sure that this match is going to be that case, then you could end up being the one working on the gens by yourself. At which point then, just make sure that you're the last one in the match so that you can find the hatch to get out. But make sure that you set your expectations as a solo queue survivor of what you're trying to accomplish, whether it's you want to clear a challenge or you want to be the one to repair at least 2 gens, whatever it is. Just set your expectations that you might not escape. Alright, so we've got 3 generators, and I'm pretty sure that this is one of them. Yes, you can actually see. And of course I was found first, because that's what always happens in my matches. Alright, so I'm going to go to the next Deja Vu gen. Alright, Wesker is the killer. So I'm going to leave. Oh, never mind. Alright, now I get to use Prove Thyself and Deja Vu together. So we're now getting a 16% increase. But not for very long. Now I'm just getting the deja vu increase. I'm going to do this, finish this gen first. Then I'll go pull Michaela off the hook. Actually, I won't need to. Alright, so now we move on to the next one. And if you can see, the 3 gens actually did change. So I'm actually going to try and get up to the one at the top of the base. With the thought being that the killer might not know about it. And if you've not played this map a lot, as this is a brand new map, you might not. Alright, so right now I'm only getting the deja vu increase of speed. Because my toolbox is spent. Alright, so there's the killer there. And at least one of them is running Kindred, which allowed me to see the killer in the first place. Yeah, there's Whisper there. So I should actually be fine to go ahead and do this. So again, keep in mind, this is a repair build. I'm just wanting to show you how good of a build it can be from a repair perspective. So David actually took him right to me. So I am running, unfortunately, very inexperienced survivors. Yeah, I'm working with very inexperienced survivors at this point. The good thing here is that if I get unhooked, and it looks like Nick is on his way, I can go straight back up to that gen and probably very rapidly get it taken care of, because now I have resilience. Nope. Damn it!
Bad, you won't make it much further.
So this is the frustration of being a solo queue survivor. Is you're always working by yourself, and in some instances, you're working against your teammates because they don't want to repair gens. But it's the only way to guarantee quick repairs. So now we're getting the prove thyself. Why is it always me?
Is that the best you've got?
By the way, that was a Mori kill. Just the camera was absolutely horrendous. Hopefully, though, you can see the value of the build from a repair perspective, I was a little bit... I was really trying to focus on just using it for the repairs. I was not really trying to escape. It was very obvious that I was going to be working against my teammates because they did not care about repairing either. They did repair one gen, but I repaired one all by myself. So at the end of the day, repair builds are great, but they're much better in a team environment. They are not the best when it comes to solo queuing. But I wanted to make you aware of it so that you knew what perks were valuable from a repair perspective. Okay, now that we have run a match with the pure repair build that we're seeing here, forcing us to stay injured at all times, but getting us the most value that we can for increased repair speed, let's take a look at what a loadout would look like for a solo queue repair build. Something that's going to be a little bit safer. It's going to keep us alive longer, allowing us to be a little bit more selfish. What I've done is I have replaced resilience, the need to stay injured all the time, with self-care. The exact opposite. Now I have the ability to heal myself even if I don't have a med kit, thereby allowing me to get the value of the toolbox and still keeping myself healthy at all times. The second thing that I did is I replaced Made for This, which gave me the 3% speed bonus when injured, thereby allowing me to potentially stay alive longer while injured. I replaced that with a true endgame perk, Adrenaline. And Adrenaline is going to give me a instant heal state when the exits come online, and I'm going to get Sprint at 150%. Now keep in mind, both Self-Care and Adrenaline are at level 2. Level 3, I believe, goes to 7 seconds for the 150% normal running speed, and I believe Self-Care goes to 35% of normal healing speed. Still takes a while, by the way. But this will allow us to go in with a repair focus, a repair build, still using Prove Thyself and Deja Vu together, and be a little bit safer. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, as a solo queue, we're going to have to be a little bit more selfish. Actually, a lot more selfish. If we notice that the other survivors are not working with us, they're not going in to actually repair gens, they're going in to do chases instead, they're going in to do tome challenges, or whatever it might happen to be, that's their decision, but I want to exit the match. I want to repair gens. I want to play the game. Well, then I may need to make a decision at some point that staying alive, staying hidden, is going to be more important. So let's try and go in with this build into a match and see if we can't get out, even if we're the last one in the match. Alright, Coldwind Farm. One of my preferred maps, but where's... Alright, the Deja Vus are right out in the freaking open. What? Alright, so this is a Deja Vu gen. We're going against the Trickster, who is chasing David currently. And is running Jolt. Very common. I do it from time to time myself. Alright, this isn't one of the gens, but it's already up and repaired partially, so let me see if I can get it moving while he's chasing after other individuals. Alright, David's off the hook. I think Kate's being chased right now. Yes, she is. Oh, I understand why I'm seeing blades so much. He's running bouncy blades. That's an add-on that turns the blades to bouncers. It's very annoying. It is very... Oh, God. David's already been clipped twice. Or hooked twice. I want to try and get to a deja vu gen, but I want to see how long I can sit here. I'm at least getting the 6% for deja vu. And I just realized I have not been using... Well, that didn't work well. Hadn't been using my toolbox. Alright, so now we're getting the toolbox. Prove thyself. Oh, David, dude, you're smart. You're very smart. You're dead on hook, man. I get it. And you're probably running resilience. Or mither. Who was that? That was Claudette. Yeah, David, my friend. Yeah, we need to run away from that one. Claudette's down. The big problem we're going to have now is that we're running out of gens to repair. As long as I can stay on the other side of the map from the trickster, we'll be in good shape. But that's going to be a big if. I'm actually, for the first time that I can remember, happy that the trickster is running bouncy blades. It makes it easier to see where he's throwing them, or where he's throwing them from. Okay, got one more. All right, David, don't. Let's get this done, man. All right, I just saw Kate running from him. Okay, so presumably we'll let Kate grab the gate. Uh-oh. We're going to lose David, unfortunately. You want me to heal you? Yeah. Okay, so that was us getting full value out of a more solo-friendly, a more solo queue-friendly repair build. We absolutely used Prove Thyself multiple times. We used Deja Vu to get an extra 6% when we were only capable of repairing by ourselves. We never needed self-care or adrenaline, thankfully, because we really didn't go up against that strong of a killer, but at the end of the day, those two additional perks put us in a much safer position going into that match and coming out of that match. So hopefully you can see that this would work well if you really truly needed to focus on a lot of repair while still being a solo queue survivor. When we go back to the main screen, we'll take a look at the next major build, which is going to be the healing build. Okay, with the healing build, we're going to use Claudette. Claudette Morel is the most obvious choice to use for a healing build because two of her natural perks are going to help us to that goal. If you look at her blood web, she comes with both empathy, botany knowledge, and self-care. Actually, all three perks, excuse me. Now, you don't necessarily have to run all three of them together. I'm actually going to show you two different alternatives for a healing build. One that does use all three, as well as then an endgame perk, and then one that uses a alternative for aura. So if we look at the first one, this one uses all three. So I've got self-care, botany knowledge, and then empathy. And you might go, what about an aura perk, Brian? You talked about, two build perks, aura perk, then endgame. Empathy is actually an aura perk. It provides dying or injured allies' auras to be revealed to you within a 96-meter range, and of course that goes up to, I believe it's 128 when we get to level 3. Empathy does not reveal auras of allies when they are in direct contact with the killer. So if they're being attacked, if they're being chased, then they will not show up then. It's only the say 3 that are not being chased that would show up to you, or the 2 actually that would not be showing up to you. And then I've got Hope as an endgame perk. And I already talked about this from an endgame perspective. This is one of the more common endgame meta perks. Now, an alternative to this would be to go with something a little bit different for something a little bit different related to healing, as well as aura. So if we look here, I've got Bite the Bullet. Bite the Bullet is from Leon, and when healing, you and the survivor you're healing make no noise, including grunts of pain. So if you happen to be healing and you're injured, your grunts of pain die, their grunts of pain die. There's no noise notification on failed healing skill checks, and healing regresses by only 2%. So this is great if the killer you're going up against is being very super aggressive. Allows you to get away, maybe not as far as you would need to normally, and you can get yourselves healed pretty quickly. The next then is Kindred. God forbid you end up on a hook or one of your teammates ends up on a hook, you can see where each other is out on the field. And if the killer is within a 16-meter range of the hooked survivor, the killer is also revealed. And of course, that's revealed to all of those on the map. So this is just an alternative. There are a lot of perks that can help out in healing situations or in healing builds. But the one that I prefer to run is self-care with botany knowledge, and then swapping in and out empathy with maybe another aura perk. So something like Bond that would allow me to see the rest of my teammates almost all the time, as long as they're within range. There are numerous different options. The other thing to keep in mind is the endgame perk. So on the first alternative, I showed you Hope, which gives me 7% haste status effect. If we look at the second loadout, though, I swapped in Adrenaline. Adrenaline instantly heals 1 health state and gives you sprinting at 150%. And that's just level 1. The normal running speed length would be for 5 seconds, then it goes to 7, and then I think it goes to 9. So these are just a couple of different alternatives for healing builds. Now the great thing about Claudette and the self-care perk is you never need to go in with a med kit. You can always heal without the med kit, at least for yourself. So if we look at my primary here, I've got a map which will allow me to see where gens are, and then I brought in the add-on to allow me to track the hatch. That's then going to give me the ability to help out with gens when I can, heal when I can, and with the hatch and Hope, I should either be able to run to the exit gate quickly or run to the hatch quickly. A lot of great versatility here with Claudette and a healing build, which is why, if you're ever playing as Killer, you see a lot of Claudettes. You will absolutely see a lot of Claudettes, or you will see a lot of characters running Claudette perks. And you can almost guarantee if there is a collaborative team, or if you go and watch any of the tournaments and see the professional teams, there's always one survivor in that group of 4 that is running these kinds of perks to be that healer for the group. Okay, I am going to take in the second loadout, and let's run a match, and let's see what happens. Okay, here we are on Coldwind Farm, and at least 2 of us have been put together. So, because there's nothing to heal this early on, I did bring in a toolbox so that I can help with gens. And apparently we're going up against the Huntress. Okay, so now we've had some fun. Let's get some work done until we have some healing to do. Now remember, this is the second build. This is the alternate build. This is the one that's designed more for personal survivability than to heal our teammates. It also helps that the other two of the survivors that I got paired with came in with med kits, so I'm probably not going to have to heal them, at least not until late in the game. And then, of course, we've got Adrenaline should we make it to end game to help us with speed and healing ourselves. Like Meg's going to get a gen done here pretty quickly. It also looks like this Huntress might be somewhat new, because she didn't look very good at using her axes, her throwing axes. I just hope I'm able to get the second one done before she comes over. There we go. Oh. Let's cleanse this totem here while we're at it. third. Oh, the two of them are actually working together, it looks like, on Jen's. Yeah, guys, I'm not sure I'd go after that one if I were you. Although, maybe. I think Meg might have taken the Huntress on a chase. Although Meg's working on a gen right now. Yeah, I ran right back into her. That was my fault. I think she might be running Iron Grasp. Okay, so we're going to get to use our perk here of self-care. Which is nice, and actually I'm going to run away and continue the process somewhere else. Here we go. So this is where we're using self-care to heal ourselves and bite the bullet to keep ourselves quiet, which works out well. Just wish I didn't have to get hooked, but because she is a new Huntress, she's tunneling and she doesn't know how to use her axes very well. So I put her on a very, very good chase. I mean, I got 1,000 blood point chase out of that, and that was without any chase perks of any kind, you know, any exhaustion perks or anything like that. And we will be talking about the chase build next. But yeah, this actually, I could have gone without self-care just then and could have let adrenaline do its job, and that would have worked just as well. Alright, so there went. Okay, so the Hex No One Escapes Death just got busted up. However, Jake just got put up on hook. And she's gonna camp him. Yeah, she's gonna camp him. Hold on a minute, I thought the Hex for No One Escapes Death got... Alright. Let me go and heal Jake. Gotta mend him first, he had mangled. Dude, quit moving. Fine. I don't know that all four of us are going to be able to get out. She did what a good killer does, and she pushed us out. Okay, so that hopefully is a good indication of what a more solo queue survivor version of a healing build would look like. Obviously, the pure healing build gives a lot more options when it comes to healing, but it also potentially puts you in more risk as a solo queue survivor if your other teammates are not working with you like the four of us were. We were all trying to help each other, all four of us, to get out. And all four of us did. So between Meg being able to use probably her chase perks, Michaela and I both having healing perks, we were able to kind of help each other out where possible. I can tell you, had I not fixed Jake's mangled, or he not fixed his mangled, he would have absolutely gone down and potentially been in a lot of, been in a big problem. So hopefully you'll get a good understanding here with what a healing build would potentially look like in solo queue. Next, we're going to take a look at the chase build, which is, at least right now, as I'm recording this, the most popular build for especially solo queue survivors, but also groups of survivors going in who don't really want to play the game but just want to be chased around. So they'll put on all of the meta chase perks, put on the meta endgame perk, and go at it. Okay, so the third major build, and the one that's probably the most popular, at least today, is the chase build. This is the one that you're going to see a lot, especially if you're playing a lot of killer. But you're also going to run up against it a lot as a solo queue. The chase build can provide a lot of great value in a team. It can also provide you, as a solo queue survivor, a lot of value. But what you're going to probably see more often than not are survivors who are all coming in with chase builds. And all they're doing is trying to chase. That's the only reason they're there. They don't care if they die. They just want to get chased. They want to have some, what they consider to be fun. They want to troll the killer and extend the match as long as possible, never ever touching a gen, or only touching a gen minimally. But as a solo queue survivor, even a partial chase build can be extremely valuable and keep you alive to be the last one in the match so that you can find the hatch, or so that you can potentially open the exit gate if possible. So what I'm going to do is show you three distinct options. They are all good chase builds. Chase builds are almost always built off of two things. Windows of Opportunity, which is a Kate perk, which is why I use Kate almost exclusively for my chase runs. I may also use Fang or Meg because the typical exhaustion perks will come from the two of them. But I prefer, I like to play more with Kate as my survivor character than the other two. So as I mentioned, Windows of Opportunity is always the basis for chase builds because Windows of Opportunity is an aura perk from Kate, so it is one of her uniques that will allow you to see pallets, breakable walls, and windows or vault locations. And they, in this particular case with level 3, are revealed to you within a 32-meter range. Thereby making it much easier for you to figure out the best routing to get the best distance or keep the best distance away from the particular killer that you are competing against. If you happen to see the red cone of the terror radius of the killer, you can go, okay, I know they're right on my butt. Let me go ahead and find a pallet to drop on them to stun them and increase the distance away. Things like that. So that's the start, and that's one of the big reasons why I use Kate primarily. However, anytime I want to have some level of chase ability, whether I use an exhaustion perk or not, and I'll talk about what that means in a second, I always start with Windows of Opportunity. The next then is an exhaustion perk. So in this case, I have Live. Live is a Feng Min exhaustion perk. Now, what that means is in this case, after performing a rushed vault, meaning over a window, over a dropped pallet, things like that, you will break into a sprint at 150% of your normal running speed, but it's only for a maximum of 3 seconds. And then it causes exhaustion. Now, exhaustion prevents survivors from activating exhausting perks, and it actually feels like, even at full sprint, that you're running a little bit slower than if you weren't exhausted. And you can always determine if you're exhausted if there is a little heart with a red circle around it that will deplete over time over on the far right-hand side of your screen. So I always start my chase builds off with the Windows of Opportunity and a exhaustion perk. There's more than one exhaustion perk. I'm going to show you some different builds to prove that out. And then lastly is I use Bond, which I get from Dwight. And this is an aura reading ability allowing me to see other allies that are within a 36-meter range. And you might be going, why is that important? Because if you are working together, or if in that 36-meter range you see 1 or 2 survivors working on a gen together, you might want to divert the killer away from them to allow them to potentially get that gen done. Things along those lines. Or if you see survivors healing each other, divert the killer away. And then lastly is Adrenaline. Adrenaline, again, will heal 1 health state and sprint at 150% of your normal running speed for 5 seconds in this case when the exit gates are powered. And Adrenaline does ignore exhaustion. So this is an excellent one where if you have just used Live because you're being chased, the exit gates power up, you're exhausted, but Adrenaline goes ahead and ignores that and gives you an extra 5-second sprint burst. So this is just one example of a build. And in this case, I'm going in with a flashlight, and that is also very typical of chasers. They're just trying to stun, they're trying to extend the match, they're just trying to be chased. Now, a second example is one where you're going in as a healing chase player, where you can easily heal yourself, you can heal others. And in this case, I still have Windows of Opportunity as my primary aura, but now I'm running Sprint Burst. This is a Meg perk, which is why I mentioned Fang, Meg, and Kate are the typical people that I see as being chasers. Sprint Burst is another exhaustion perk. When starting to run, break into a sprint at 150% of your normal running speed for a maximum of 3, 5, and 7. Actually, I think it's 3, 6, and 9 seconds. And then causes the 3 seconds is the standard, and then the length of the exhaustion is what changes per level. So it causes the exhausted status effect, in this case, for 60 seconds. So another exhaustion perk that will give you that speed that you need if you are being chased. But it's only in that very first burst of sprint. Then in this case, because I came in with a med kit for healing, I brought in Empathy as my aura perk, which allows me to reveal dying or injured allies that are revealed to you within a 96-meter range. And then I use Hope, which is a 6% haste status effect when the exit gates are turned on, and that's 3, 6, and 9% haste status effect, depending upon the levels. So this is another combination of haste, sprint, exhaustion, chase type perks that you can use for your build. And I'm trying to show you some different ones because when it comes to chase builds, there's a lot of different options, and they are all very good. No one of them stands out more than the other than you need to make sure to have windows of opportunity. I think I've made that pretty clear. Now, the last version is my repair chase build, going in with a toolbox, and in this case, I'm using Lithe and windows of opportunity. But instead of Bond or Empathy, I'm using Kindred. So in case I get hooked, I can see where they are. They can see the killer. I could also use Deja Vu in this case to be able to get some extra repair speed and can see the auras of at least 3 gens at a time. And then lastly, from an endgame perspective, I completely switched it up on you. Talked about a different perk that I haven't talked about before now, which is Left Behind. This one, a lot of people don't consider to be as valuable. However, in solo queue, I do consider it to be very valuable. Because in solo queue, there's a excellent chance that you're going to be the last one in the match and not all the gens are done. And I've been talking about that throughout this entire video. Depending upon what the motives are of the other survivors in the match, there's a very good chance of that happening, especially if you're stealthy, especially if you survive well. So with Left Behind, you're able to see the aura of the hatch within a 32-meter range when you are the last survivor. Now, this means last survivor doesn't mean that you're just the last one on the field and everyone is hooked. They all have to be dead, meaning they all have to have skull icons before you're allowed to see the hatch. But as long as you're within 32 meters, you can see the hatch. It will come up red. I've used this perk myself to full advantage, and you'll be able to drop in as long as the killer's not nearby. So these are a bunch of ways for you to set up chase builds. Now let's go ahead and grab one of these and run them in an actual match so that you can see what they look like. Okay, Temple of Purgation, Red Forest. We got somebody over on the other side of the wall with us. Find ourselves a gen to start working on. This again, oh my god, already. Yeah, this map is not the greatest of maps for chases because there's very little around. However, I get my window and there's my burst. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to be exhausted, but he's still chasing me too. Alright, so that worked to our advantage. We got away with that. Nope. I'm gonna have to hide a little bit. Alright, somebody, it looks like, is smartly doing the gen downstairs. Yeah, thankfully, because I had Bond running, I could see that Leon was the one getting chased down below. Oh, and I spoke too soon. I'm still exhausted, unfortunately, so... Alright, now I have Lithe back available to me if I need it. And I think I've done a complete 360 in the yard. I don't know who that is that just got hit. I think that might be Jake. about him. He's being covered. So far, we've already seen a little bit of the value from the chase build, even though this is not necessarily the greatest of maps for it. And the reason why I say it's not the greatest of maps, there's a lot of open area on these bigger maps. So although, yes, there are pallets, there are windows, there are also a lot of tiles with nothing. Like the one I'm standing on actually right now, there's one pallet nearby. Chase build. 5. Problem is I can't get my live back. Yeah. The fact that I couldn't get my live back did not help in that scenario, but it gave time for Leon and Ace to get a gen done. So, and the fact that I had Bond allowed me to see that they were doing that. So I just got the haste from a perk that Leon's running when unhooked, probably borrowed time. Plus I used my live at just the right time. All as part of that chase to get away. So that all worked extremely well. And then while I'm working on this gen, I'm getting my live back. Yeah, it's true. I haven't been using my toolbox. Yeah, this has been even if I don't make it out, and there's a very good chance that I won't. Even if I don't make it out, this has been a good demonstration of the power of the chase build without it needing to be a pure chase build. Yeah. Go ahead, Ace. Finish. There it is. Yes. So my chase build has been able to be used to both help save myself as well as to help my fellow survivors finish gens. Yeah, I'll bet he's got no one escapes death. Unfortunately, I can't take a hit because I'm injured. And I don't know where the other is. Right there. Yeah, this has actually been a very good display of the power of the solo queue chase build. As I said, it's not a pure chase build. I don't have made for this, for example. I don't have sprint burst. I don't have multiple exhaustion perks. I've got the one exhaustion perk. I've got windows of opportunity to show me where things are, to be able to jump over or jump across or drop or what have you. But then I've also got Bond to be able to allow me to see where my fellow survivors are. So that I can stay away from them if they're finishing perks. And I had a good set of teammates this time around. I had a really good set of teammates. So I was able to keep away from them with my chase build so that they could finish survivors or finish gens. And then, you know, really, Jake and I went and healed each other, but we really didn't need to. Or I didn't need to because I had adrenaline. I think, guys, we're going to have to give up on somebody. We're going to lose one kill at one survivor, I think. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to get away with all of us getting out, with 3 of us getting out, or 4 of us getting out. He's not a really, really good knight. He knows how to use his power, but he didn't use it as much as he should have, is what I'll say. Jake needs to be careful. He's going to get a little bit too close. I think somebody might... Oh, I think the guy on hook might have Kindred. Yeah, Jake finally figured out that it's just time for us to go. Yeah. So that was a good match. That was a good match. It was also a good demonstration. Not a great demonstration, but a good demonstration of the power of the solo queue chase build. While, you know, the solo queue chase build giving us chasing ability while also helping to protect us to a degree. If Jake had not healed me the minute that I tapped the exit gate, I would have gotten healed because of adrenaline. So I was already protected, but Jake got some well-needed blood points. I got some well-needed blood points. It all ended up working out. So hopefully you've been able to see how you can potentially set up some dedicated builds as a solo queue survivor. The primary ones being that we've looked at the chase build, the repair build, and the healing build. Now I want to show you 2 more that are additional, and then I want to show you my Nicolas Cage build because he's more of an all-around build that I've been using. But there's a couple of other smaller builds that I'm not going to show you demonstrations of, but are ones that I have run in certain circumstances, whether it be to clear a tome challenge or whether it be to just because it was something that I wanted to do. The first is Bill here, and this is what I'm calling the unhook build. The unhook build can be done with a couple of different ways, but the one that I like to use is Borrowed Time. Borrowed Time, which is one of Bill's unique perks. When you unhook a survivor, it keeps their endurance status effect that they get naturally from being unhooked for an extra 10 seconds. Therefore, if the if the killer is tunneling that particular survivor, then that gives them a better opportunity to get away. It also increases the length of their movement speed. So when you get unhooked, you typically get haste for, I believe it's 3 seconds. This gives you an extra 10. So this is where you're trying to help the survivors that are getting unhooked. Now, if you are the one who gets hooked, that's where Off the Record comes into play. And this is a Zarina Kassir perk. So while off the record, so once you are unhooked or escape from the hook, so someone else unhooks you, or you get the 4% and unhook yourself, or you potentially use, I believe it's Deliverance, to get the 100% unhook chance, then this will go into effect. Your aura will not be seen by the killer. Grunts of pain caused by injuries are reduced by 100%, and you gain the endurance status effect. Now, if you were unhooked, you were going to gain the endurance status effect as well, but with Off the Record, it's activating for 60 seconds. So you're getting that for 60 seconds. You're staying quiet for 60 seconds. Your aura cannot be seen for 60 seconds. So if you were to say combine these two, you're able to both give better benefits to those that you unhook, but you're also getting a huge benefit from being unhooked yourself. In addition, you combine this with a couple of a set of stealth perks. Now all of a sudden, you've got a much better chance of not only getting away, but staying hidden for a long period of time so that maybe you can heal yourself, maybe someone else can heal you, and so on. And then beyond that, of course, Bond to be able to see your other allies, and Adrenaline to be able to get healed at the time when the exit gates pop. So this is kind of what I'm calling the unhooked build, and it's a very, very nice combination. Will help with tome challenges, as well as help be part of a team, and you can be that individual. The other one that I want to show you is what I'm calling the stealth build, and I've put together a separate video for that. I'll make sure to provide that in the description, a link to that in the description. And this is with Ellen Ripley. Ellen Ripley has just become available as part of the new Alien chapter, and she brought with her the light-footed perk. The light-footed perk allows you to run completely silent. Now, you have to remain healthy, and there is a 20-second cooldown. But while you are sprinting and you do not release the button, you will be completely quiet. You combine this with Nea Carlson's Urban Evasion, which allows you to crouch and move dramatically faster. This level 2 is at 95%, the level 3 is at 100. You now have the ability to not only sprint and stay quiet, but crouch, stay quiet, and move away faster. It is a phenomenal stealth build. And as I said, I have created a separate build guide just for this build that you can take a look at. The URL will be in the description. You then combine these two with windows of opportunity so that when you are light-footed, you can very easily vault and find pallets and things like that to help increase the length of the chase if necessary, and therefore potentially the killer will drop off. You never know. Newer killers probably not. More experienced killers absolutely will, because they realize that the longer that the chase goes on, the more gens can be popped during that time. And then lastly, in order to maintain light-footed as much as possible, we add in self-care. Now you'll notice this particular build does not have an endgame perk, but if you use these perks well together, you won't need an endgame perk because you're healthy and you've been able to survive the entire match. So these are just two other minor builds that I wanted to talk about. And then the last thing I want to show you is a more utility or all-around survivor, and that is Nicolas Cage. With him, one, he's my favorite survivor. He just is. I love playing with him. I love his voice lines, his sounds, just all the way that he interacts in every single match is phenomenal, both in the lobby as well as on the field. But I give him a more utilitarian style of build. So we go in with Prove Thyself so that If Nick is working with the other survivors well, we're getting additional repair speed bonuses. He has plot twists so that he can heal himself from a single dying state. This only, though, does happen once, so be aware of that. The perk deactivates if you recover by yourself by any means. So if you use this to completely heal yourself, then plot twist deactivates. However, if in the middle of plot twist someone comes up and finishes the heal for you, you do still have access to plot twist later. So it is a little bit of a tricky perk, but it does work extremely well. You could very easily replace this with self-care if you wanted to. Then, of course, windows of opportunity to allow for chase. And then the final perk can be any of the standard exit perks that I like to run, whether they be hope, whether it be adrenaline. You could also have there's another one. I apologize. There's one more that I cannot remember off the top of my head. But I also am running Guardian here, which is that when you unhook a survivor, they won't leave scratch marks or pools of blood, and they gain a 7% haste status effect for 8 seconds. And you get to see the killer's aura. Now, I was using this for a very specific reason, but this is a unhook perk combined with a chase aura perk, combined with a heal yourself perk, combined with a repair perk. It is a very utilitarian or all-around build. It's going to give you a better chance as a solo queue survivor. That being said, I still really prefer to have 2 perks that are dedicated to the build and then an aura and an exit gate or an end-game perk. But this is just another way to put together some solo queue perks, some solo queue builds that really provide for a lot more fun, better opportunities for success. Now, the last thing I do want to say, this is a solo queue video. There are no guarantees. You're going in solo. You cannot guarantee that you're going to get survivors that want to work with you. You cannot guarantee that survivors are going to want to actually play the game and try to escape. So go in with your expectations being a little bit lower.
Did you hear
and
that?
saying, I just want to go in and repair 2 gens. Or I just want to go in and last more than 5 minutes. I want to go in and run away from the killer twice. Give yourself some expectations that are not, I must exit. I must escape. Because as a solo queue survivor, the chances of that are a lot slimmer. But you can still have a lot of fun as a solo queue survivor. And hopefully I've shown you some of that here in this video and some ways to do it. If you've got your own suggestions, if you've got your own comments or critiques that you would like to give to any of my builds, please feel free to put them in comments. I would love to talk about them. And I am hopefully going to put together some smaller videos that are more dedicated to these individual builds. As I said, I've already got one out there for the stealth build. I am going to put one together for the all-around build, the Nicolas Cage build, because I'm just a big fan of his. But any comments are welcome. Please keep them positive if you can, but any comments or critiques are welcome. And as always, if you have been enjoying the content, please make sure to hit the like button. Please make sure to hit the subscribe button. And hopefully, I will see you in Dead by Daylight in the very near future. Talk to you soon.